If you've ever wondered whether one act of kindness can still matter decades later, stop everything. Because the moment this man said his name, a judge who's heard 100,000 cases broke down in front of everyone, and what he did next is going viral for all the right reasons. A man walks up for a routine speeding ticket, says his name, and in less than 3 seconds, the most experienced judge in Rhode Island freezes like he's just seen a ghost from 40 years ago. What happens next will leave you speechless, make grown men cry in the gallery, and remind you that some acts of kindness create debts so deep they echo across generations. I'm not exaggerating, this story is going to hit you square in the soul. One name, one memory, one moment that proves real heroes don't wear capes, they wear work boots and show up when no one else will. Before we step inside that courtroom, do 2 quick things. Smash that subscribe button right now, this kind of raw humanity needs to flood the planet, and drop a comment telling me, has anyone ever recognized your last name and suddenly told you a story about your family that changed everything? Tell me where you're watching from, and if you believe some debts can never truly be repaid. Because the next 13 minutes are about to prove it. It's a busy Tuesday morning in Providence Municipal Court. The gallery is packed shoulder to shoulder, people clutching tickets, lawyers flipping files, the familiar hum of fluorescent lights and nervous coughs. Judge Frank Caprio, now in his late 80s, sits high on the bench like he has every weekday for the last 38 years. He's seen every excuse in the book, dismissed fines for grandmothers, given second chances to teenagers, and somehow still finds a way to make every person feel human. Case after case flies by, parking tickets waived, honest mistakes forgiven, a little humor sprinkled in to ease the tension. Then the clerk calls case number 47. A simple speeding ticket, 15 miles over on Route 95, nothing special. A man in his early 50s walks forward, pressed shirt, quiet confidence, the kind of calm that only comes from seeing real chaos up close. The judge glances at the file, looks up, and says the most routine words in the building. State your name for the record, sir. Michael Anthony Torino, your honors. The pen in Judge Caprio's hands stops dead. His eyes lift slowly from the paperwork. For the first time in decades, the entire courtroom watches the most unflappable judge in America lose every ounce of color in his face. The name hangs in the air like thunder that hasn't decided whether to strike yet. His longtime assistant Maria, who sat beside him for 15 years, later says she's never seen his hands shake like that. The gallery goes unnaturally quiet. Phones stop scrolling, even the air conditioning seems to hold its breath. Torino, the judge repeats, almost whispering to himself. Michael Torino. The man at the podium nods politely, confused but respectful. Yes, your honor. Judge Caprio sets the pen down completely. His voice comes out softer than anyone has ever heard it. Son, I'm going to ask you something personal, and I hope an old judge can be forgiven for it. What was your father's name? Michael straightens, surprised. Anthony Torino, sir. Everyone called him Big Tony. He passed 12 years ago. The change is instant. Judge Caprio's eyes fill so fast it's visible on camera. His shoulders drop like a man carrying 40 years of unsaid thank yous. He whispers the name again, almost reverent. Big Tony, hands like dinner plates, laugh that could shake the walls. Michael's eyes widened. You knew my dad. The judge stands, something he almost never does mid-case, and the whole room feels the ground shift. When he speaks again, every word trembles with memory. Know him. Son, your father saved my life. You could have heard a heartbeat in that silence. Every single person in the gallery leans forward. Court officers freeze. The stenographer's fingers hover over the keys. Judge Caprio steps down from the bench, protocol completely abandoned, and walks straight to the podium like a man approaching sacred ground. This was 1987, he begins, voice thick. I was a young lawyer, not a judge yet. I was representing an injured construction worker. Scaffolding collapsed downtown. Big case. Powerful people didn't want it to see daylight. Your father was the foreman on that site. He was supposed to testify for us, but he was nervous. Guys from Federal Hill didn't exactly love courtrooms back then. The night before trial, I'm leaving my office late, 10 p.m., maybe later. Walking to my car in that dark lot behind the old courthouse on Dorrance Street. 3 men step out of the shadows, drunk, angry. They knew exactly who I was. They didn't ask me to drop the case, son. They made it real clear what would happen if I didn't. The courtroom is so quiet now it feels like the building itself is listening. I ended up on the ground. One of them had a pipe. I thought that was it, career over, life over, all for trying to get a hurt man justice. And then I heard the voice, deep, booming, pure Federal Hill thunder. Hey, you pieces of garbage, get away from him right now. Your dad came out of nowhere. 6'2", 240, arms like bridge cables from 30 years swinging a hammer. Those three cowards took one look at Big Tony Torino and ran for their lives. He picked me up, dusted me off, looked me dead in the eye and said, "Nobody gets hurt for doing the right thing, counselor, go win tomorrow." Then he walked off into the dark like it was nothing. Judge Caprio's eyes are shining now, tears threatening to spill in front of 50 strangers. I won that case because your father gave me the courage to walk back in there the next day. That worker kept his house, his kids stayed in school. Every single fair decision I've made from this bench for the last 37 years exists because one man refused to let evil win in a parking lot. Michael stands frozen, mouth slightly open, learning for the first time what his father never bragged about. Judge Caprio wipes his eyes with the back of his hand, not even trying to hide it anymore. The entire gallery is already reaching for tissues, but the story isn't over. A week after the trial, he continues, voice cracking just a little, Big Tony showed up at my office. No appointment, no cameras, didn't want money, didn't want his name in the paper. Just wanted to make sure I was okay. We sat and talked for 2 straight hours. He told me about his boy Michael, who was 15 back then, already talking about wanting to help people. He was so proud of you, son. Said he was raising you to stand up for folks who couldn't stand up for themselves. I told him that day I'd never forget what he did. When I became a judge, I tried to find him, wanted to do something big for your family, but he'd moved and life got in the way. I carried that regret for 37 years, until you walked in here today. Michael's voice is barely above a whisper. He never told me any of this. The judge smiles through wet eyes. That was your old man, good deeds weren't for bragging, they were for doing. Michael swallows hard. He used to tell me, son, real men don't need applause, they just need to know the job got done. Judge Caprio nods like he's hearing an old friend speak from beyond. Exactly what he told me in that parking lot. He walks back to the bench, picks up the speeding ticket file and looks at it like it's written in a foreign language. Michael Anthony Torino, he announces formally, you're here for going 15 miles over the limit on Route 95. Yes, Your Honor. The judge leans forward, eyes fierce with something bigger than law. Let me tell you something, son. The debt I owe the Torino family can never be repaid in dollars. Your father didn't just save my life that night, he saved every single person I've ever helped from this bench. 37 years of second chances, dismissed fines, kids kept out of jail, all of it only happened because Big Tony refused to walk away. He pauses, lets that sink in, then softens. But here's the thing, I had the bailiff run the standard background check while we were talking. Michael suddenly looks nervous, like a man who's used to saving others but never being seen himself. Would you like to tell the court what you do for a living, Mr. Torino? Michael shifts, almost embarrassed. I'm a paramedic, sir, Providence EMS. The judge's smile breaks wide open, like sunrise after the longest night. 22 years on the job, 17 commendations, 3 life-saving awards. 43 lives officially saved in the line of duty, and that's just the ones they could count. A collective gasp ripples through the gallery. Someone in the back row starts clapping, and within seconds the entire courtroom is on its feet, thunderous, heartfelt applause that echoes off the old wooden walls. Judge Caprio lets it wash over the room, then raises a hand for quiet. You say this, everybody. 37 years ago, Big Tony Torino saved 1 life, mine. His son has saved 43 and counting. If that's not interest on a debt, I don't know what is. Michael is openly crying now, shaking his head in disbelief. The judge lifts his gavel, but instead of banging it, he gently sets it down. Case dismissed. Fine waived, points removed, record expunged. Not because of what your father did for me, though Lord knows that would be enough. But because of what you've done for this city every single shift. We need you out there saving lives, not sitting in traffic school. He steps down from the bench one final time, and does something no one in that building has ever seen. Judge Frank Caprio, 80-something years old, legendary robe and all, walks straight to Michael and pulls him into a long, tight hug right there in open court. The gallery loses it, cheers, tears, phones up recording every second. When they finally separate, the judge keeps both hands on Michael's shoulders. "Drive safe out there, son. Your father's watching, and this whole city, we're damn proud to have another Torino on the streets keeping us alive." Michael can barely speak. "Thank you, Your Honor, for telling me who he really was." The judge smiles, eyes shining. "Thank you for proving he raised you exactly the way he wanted." As Michael walks out, the judge calls after him one last time. "And Michael, next time you're on Route 95 blasting to a call, lights and sirens, don't you dare slow down for anybody. That one's on me." The doors close behind him. The applause starts again and doesn't stop for a full minute. That day became legend in Providence. Cops still tell the story in roll call. Paramedics pass it down like a badge of honor. Judge Caprio keeps a new photo on his desk now. A 1987 construction crew shot Michael brought him the following week. Big Tony front and center, arms crossed, grinning like he already knew his boy would make him proud. Sometimes the most powerful debts aren't written in any ledger. They're carried in blood, paid forward in courage, and settled, finally, beautifully, in a courtroom hug 37 years in the making. If this story hit you even half as hard as it hit that gallery, do 3 things right now. Like this video so the algorithm knows real humanity still matters, subscribe and hit the bell because we're just getting started, and comment the words Big Tony, so I know you felt every second of this one. See you in the next story that proves good still wins.